have been academically oppressed by the suppression of their mother tongue, English, and miseducated in Spanish.
Now, keep in mind, there's no such language as Spanish. That's Moorish Latin. That belongs to you. And English is simply what you would call Gullah Creole trade language, and that's universal. So don't look at it as belonging just to the hybrids that deal with the international trade of Phoenicians, which is also yourselves. A lot of times we keep assuming or condemning things that actually belong to us by associating it only with the hybrid Europeans, just because of the corruption that humanity has been experiencing this last 100 and so years, etc. However, understand the corruption has been on all sides, and it's not just the hybrid Europeans who have been corrupt. It is also many of the Moors who have been corrupt. And so these fundamental principles must be taught back to you in order for us to together, in many fronts, start fixing this corruption that all of us have participated in, some deliberately and some through mind control and miseducation. However, the results has been damage to humanity at large. Thus, the Moorish Divine and National Movement was established officially as a countermeasure to the Unum Sanctum operations. Doesn't mean that the people that are exercising this knowledge are more correct or more right than anyone else. It means there's a sincere platform effort to help in the uplifting of fallen humanity, and we have to pull each other's coattail constantly to keep us on the right path. I yield the floor.
Okay. Well, we said we were only gonna do. First of all, let us kind of give you a backstory as to why we started an hour late. We had a
massive electrical shutout in the
area. Yeah, the electricity went out in the area, so we had to push it back so that we make sure it was back on by the time we could actually go on, because it doesn't let you go on if you're 10 minutes late on the system. So we pushed it back an hour. But Grand Chic has been working on my project, my home remodel project. I'm saying feverishly over the last, how long have you been here?
40, 45.
Yeah, he is tired, and rightfully so. So we're not going to go until 11:30. We hope you do understand. He does need to get some rest, because I can attest to the fact that he has been working feverishly. But we do appreciate, your overstanding and understanding and your patience with what we're doing. You know what I mean? And your support is greatly appreciated, and we appreciate you. I do have an announcement. Many of you have asked that are in, not even all of you that are domiciling close, but many are asking, when are we going to do, are you going to do live in-person meet and greet type sessions starting August 27th, which is the fourth Friday. And we're going to try to do it on every fourth Friday. So we're literally adding a third day, because we're still going to do our first and third Friday live streams, but on the fourth Fridays, we're also going to try to live stream it, but those are going to be, that's going to be our in-person, where you'll be able to literally come to the House of Reawakening Minds. So mark your calendar for Friday, August 27th, 2021, when we come back together. And those of you who've been, really, really anxious to get here and to be up close and personal with Grand Chic and even myself, please, by all means, put that on your calendar. The doors will open at 6:30 on the 27th, and we'll start the class or whatever Grand Chic decides to do at 7:30. And we hope that those of you who can attend will attend. We have limited space, so if you are planning to come from a distance, just kind of reach out and make sure, I'm going to try to keep tabs on the numbers, so that we don't have try to pack, more than we can actually reasonably fit in the building. So we thank you so much for your patience, because it's been over a year, Grand Chic. since we've done an in-person class, and well, you've done. And so the 27th of August, we're coming back together. We're going to try to make it special, maybe have some, I don't know, some vendors and some, vegan food and some other things there. But August 27th, meet us at House of Reawakening Minds. And we look forward to Vandiver Avenue.
Yes. And I want to thank many of the mothers and sisters and brothers who over these trying months and moons have been supporting the House of Reawakening Minds. And many of you, we can't thank you directly. In the future, we may just mention your first attributes, to keep it private, etc. But know that we appreciate you. And also, please subscribe to Dr. G's new YouTube channel. And it's Dr. G is official. And guess what? Because people been calling from all over the place, and we only need 179 more subscribers are needed in order for the channel to go live. So keep that in mind. So please subscribe. Please subscribe. Dr. G's new YouTube channel, Dr. G is official. Please subscribe. And I also thank you for aiding and supporting both economically and socially the House of Reawakening Minds. So please go to your YouTube and search for Dr. G is official and subscribe. And have a grand evening.
Thank you.
Governing body politics. Keep in mind, when you're referring to the U.S. government, you're not talking about a nation. You're talking about a foreign political system operating at North America under the guise of being a nation, with particular people being party to that operations who are actually members of the Roman Curia, members of P2 Mason order, who have been imitating and corrupting ancient African and Egyptian customs and perverting many things and many symbols that actually have African origin, and using dark side magic and psychic attacks. Now, schism, for those of you who don't know, commonly spoken of among most people in a layman's term would be called divide and conquer. However, schism in operation, schism is a noun and relates to the division of a group of people into opposing sects, opposing parties, or opposing opinions or positions. Now, schism may relate to opposing philosophical positions, opposing doctrines, opposing disciplines, etc. Schism inducements may also pertain to deliberated political and social psychic attacks as used in military or extrajudicial activities to serve an unseen or hidden source of persons to bring about confusion, divisions, discord, and instabilities upon another group of people to achieve conquest of outcomes, etc. In layman's terms, schism as a war tool is often referred to as invoking by way of subterfuge, deceit, or any other dishonorable method, a division among a targeted group of people for the purposes of creating divisions or the bringing about of what is called divide and conquer effects. Also in relationship to consciousness and cognizance of what's been going on at North America, also known as the Maghreb, which is Morocco, the most extreme west, we will talk about a common phrase that's commonly used among African people in Sabian culture and in ancient texts brought to the modern world, is this phrase: whosoever will, let him come. Whosoever will, let him hear. And now, so people must understand and comprehend and understand the relationship of will in relationship to philosophies and positions that one might take. So in relationship to the capacity, the intent, or to the impulse, etc., of one to decide to initiate an action to exercise self-control or to adhere to one's desires or ordainments, etc. And will may also pertain to having something of focus as one's object or will and intent unconditionally. Now, to hear also it pertains to the perception of sound in the ear, also an adherence to what is known or perceived, etc., and to act accordingly, etc., or to respond accordingly. And so when you talk about will, that is more or less the power in divine nature of beings, of what is often referred to as free will. So ultimately, things in life and our experiences in life often, more often than we consider most of the time, relate to our consenting or agreeing to things, to ideas, to philosophies, to intent, etc., related to what we perceive, what we know, what we allege to believe, etc. And much of this has to do with the relationship of cognizance or consciousness of the being. So one of the things that we need to look at is the cognizance that exist in general among our people of the West, and particularly the Aboriginal copper complexion people of the Western Hemisphere, artificially tagged with nom de guerres such as Negro, Black, Indian, etc., who are actually of Canaanite Moabite blood and are the Aboriginal and true heirs and peoples of the land, and part of the schism operations that has been successful with the particularly some among, not all, some among the hybrid Europeans who have been operating at North America under the guise of a national political order, when actually it is a private corporation operations of the Vatican and members of the Roman Curia for conquest purposes. However, it's important to recognize that many of the people have not been aware that what they've been calling or trained in schools is a country designated or styled as the United States. Many of them were not aware of the fact that that's actually a private corporation registered in Austria. Also, many of you who have been dealing with us or doing research for yourselves over the years, as you know, we've been exposing that the U.S. is a private corporation, and we even shared their corporate papers with many of you as evidence for those who we know who would be countering the consciousness of the people to keep the people asleep as to what's going on, and therefore keep the schism operations going that divide the people against themselves, and have many people who have not been properly made erudite in school systems, using induced belief systems in substitution for knowledge or facts, etc., and thereby causing and also maintaining schisms amongst the natural people of the land. Now, keep in mind, many people have been trained to argue the social or psychic attack paradigm known as racism and prejudice at North America, and are under the concept that every hybrid European that may be the neighbor down the street is necessarily your enemy. That's not necessarily true. Understand that the hybrids that have been creating the subversion and the suppression and the subjugation of the natural people under unum sanctum operations and dum diversas operations are mainly and predominantly located or holding de facto positions in government. So it's not your neighbors that are doing things to you. It is people in government, or people who are claimed to be government, and also people whom they contract and other subdivisional corporate entities to guise the fact that that the action actually come from them. As an example, when you do research at the Maghreb or North America, Maghreb, you'll find many people talk about things such as Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Tuskegee experiments, etc., where they have via their sanctum operations and dumb diversus operations, killing off and poisoning and destroying by virtue of different methods of genocide our people, the Aboriginal people of Morocco, America, the real Americans. And keep in mind, the real Americans, they refer to us as the copper complexion people, or the people with skin like burnished brass, as if burnt in the oven, and having generally woolly hair, etc., i.e., Moabite, Canaanite stock, etc. The Aboriginal, real, true Americans. And because of the schism operations, many of the hybrid Europeans have been successfully, and particularly since around 1861 in that area, promoting themselves as the Americans falsely in order to project the evils that they've been doing on the planet onto America and the real people of America. And that would often be done in what they would call, from a psychic attack perspective, of initiating an action or an attack under what is guised as blackface. And this is where the hybrid Europeans would hire contractors or themselves, and it would be initiated from people who claim to be government, where they would darken their skin and do devious things to blame what they have been doing to people around the world, and particularly here at the North, on the Aboriginal people, and they have been quite successful at that. And so therefore, we must be reminded to be aware of the projection strategies that have been used under the dumb diversus operations and the schism operations for the successes of conquest at North America. However, also, about 18 years ago, from this location, actually around the corner, I did a lecture in November of 2003 in relationship to a lot of things that we're dealing with today. And with this particular book, this was a copy, or what you would call transliteration of that conversation. It was actually a conversation, and so they made it into a book. It's called Evolve Will Become Fertilizer for Those Who Are. Now, I'm going to read a couple of passages because it is in tune with what's going on today. So this is an opening statement of, in that book. I'll read a few. Forward. The contents of this book are derived from a lecture given by Tarik on November the 15th of 2003, 1423 MC, at Moorways, located on Market Street at Wilmington, Delaware, North America, northwest of Mexico. Taj was asked to speak on the subject of unity and economics. However, his perspective, surprisingly, was not expected by the masses, as he first saw it most important to bring to the table the true, quote unquote, meaning of unity, quote unquote, and to dispel the commonly accepted myth that we as a people don't come together. And once the concept of unity was explained, a clearer understanding and comprehension of economics was gained. Once the issue involving economics was understood, we could more easily grasp why the gross national product, quote unquote, of the nation never matches up to reality and to true labor output. This information or informative lecture may prove to be very useful for all those who are in an honest search for social, political, and economic remedies for our Aboriginal natural peoples, and for all natural indigenous peoples in general. Much of the information is based in true law, true historical facts, truth in religion, what it is not, relative to spirituality, and relative to what is happening now. Unity in economics are not limited to what you may have assumed or to what you have been told. And once you have read this booklet, pass it on to those you love. Opening statement by Tarik. I want to address the unity in constitutional principles, but I also want, prior to a break, a few questions because I want to see where your minds are so I can go there. It is better to feel where the people are and work off that than to prepare something and bring you something just because it might be interesting. Because it doesn't really work. We need to work with the spirit and what needs to be fixed. On unity. First of all, unity is something people always throw about with us, and they always say we need unity, unity, unity. It must be understood that the word unity is presented to you, as presented to you, and is presented to you. What it actually means is nationhood. Usually people say we need to get together to do something. We need to get together to do some economic things. We need to get together spiritually, economically, and politically. Well, guess what? That's not true. We've always been together. We party together. We go to picnics together. We go to barbecues together. We go to jams together. Whatever. And we've always been together. What we have not had are national principles, quote unquote, that bind us as one on a political forum. No matter where we are, or whatever part of the land we are in or at, with a common law. And that's the principle of unity. It's called anciently, not modernly, anciently, Constitution. You must understand that Constitution did not begin with the misconcepts a lot of us have that the Europeans brought in constitutional principles. Constitutional principles are ancient as government and civilization is. Organized civilized government is based in constitutional principles and is called positive law. Positive law is called jurisprudence. Jurisprudence is founded in nature's God and nature's law. That which is founded by the Creator and nature. All universal law, or what we commonly refer to as Allah, all law. And for those who may be confused, Allah is a feminine word and is a feminine appellation or feminine name. So don't get confused with this masculine and feminine game that they've been playing with you in the name of religion, because it deals with divine law, universal. One of the things I recognize as one of the great weaknesses among us, and why most quote-unquote vampires have been able to suck off the energies of the Asiatics of this planet, and not just particularly here, but on this planet as a whole, that has been smoked by quote-unquote religion in our concepts and what religion is and what religion is not. Religion, originally as founded by the ancient Moabites, were teaching systems of our relationship with nature, your building blocks, the way you are made, how you operate in nature, how nature operates with you, your connection with everything that is in nature. And this is called divine law. It is not spooky, and it is not conjecture. It is not based in beliefs. These are fundamental, functional facts. However, wicked caliphs, priests, and thieves have used these religious systems to create quote unquote secret principles for themselves to rule the masses. They start injecting agendas that have nothing to do with divine law, quote unquote, creating and making up, quote unquote, versions of, quote unquote, gods, and then selling them to the public and to the people, then dividing the people, then sucking off of them and using, quote unquote, the devil, quote unquote, as a scapegoat, and thereby ruling the world. That is the real deal. So when most people look at the hybrid Europeans and look at different armies and are saying, oh, wow, look at all the things they are doing to the world. Believe me, it is not religionists that did it. One of the biggest problems with us trying to get out of this thing is with the muddled concepts of and about our salvation, quote unquote. And we run to the very people who actually are the vampires. And one of the hardest things to do in communicating with people is to tell the truth and to have them accept it, because they want to beat you up. Because most of us are biased by whatever denominations or scholarism, secularism, and religionisms we belong to. And I am Muslim, but I will never deny that the wicked caliphs created divisions in Islam. The Quran says there shall be no secularism in Islam, yet you have all kinds of sects, quote unquote, just like in all other religious denominations. So let's not be or get self-righteous about these matters. The other deal is we must remember that both Muslims and Christians, etc., maintain quote unquote slaves and forced servitude. So again, don't get self-righteous. The weaknesses that we have is that when we don't know the real history of our social and political connection here in North America, the Crusaders have buried a lot of that history. And therefore, much of that is connected to us, or that is our actual birthright we reject. Because we think it belongs to the hybrid Europeans, the old deal of throwing the baby out with the bathwater is part of vampirism. Because in our blind rejection, actually, we are throwing out the political power to our birthrights by denying something because we assume that someone else is the founder of established government, which includes religion. I want to hit on certain things because it is important for you to understand and comprehend and not to assume otherwise. I may say certain things that technically and organizationally people don't say or don't want to say because it destroys institutions. But I'm not gaming like that. I'm for freeing my babies. I don't want my babies to suffer as I have suffered. And I will sacrifice me to make sure they have a chance. And I am not selling out. Secret institutions, Masonry, Skull and Bones, Jesuits, etc., Knights of Columbus, Ku Klux Klan, the whole crew. Why are they wearing our fez? Because they are all using the ancient Moorish principles of government to rule you with. When you start rejecting them out of hand without explanation or without examination, thinking that those clubs belong to them and that and have nothing to do with you, you have made your first mistake. Because that is your real history buried. It is not quote unquote black history. Your history is in those lodges. Your history is in governments around the planet. That is a diversion. We get into this thing oh, that's secret societies and that is his thing. No, that is coded because Moors taught the Europeans Masonry. Masonry is just a modern system of structured government based on the ancient mystery schools of the ancient Moabites to bring them into government. We taught them governmental principles, civilization principles. But in order to rule you, they must not allow you to know that that's what it is. That is the nature of secrecy, not that it is a secret, because it really is not so much a secret as you think it is. They even hide it in yoga, in your advanced yoga lessons. If any one of you want to begin freeing yourselves from a suppressed mind of what you think religion is, and what you think it is not, and what you think spirituality is, and what you think it is not, breath, breathe, meditate, take ablution, pray, and go get yourself an advanced yoga book and read it from front to back and from back to front and free yourselves. These and those are keys. I'm throwing that out there because you need to know it. United States. The other thing is you must understand the Constitution that evolved for the United States, Central America, Central North America. First, you must know that it is not the only United States. So when you say United States, you don't let anyone play with you. And we're not just talking the different jurisdictions of quote unquote United States within this particular territory. We are talking about the fact that there is more than one United States political forum in North, Central, and South America. And you have the United States of Mexico. You have the United States of Brazil. You have the United States of El Salvador. And these are all United States of America. The United States of America in Central America, you assume, in Central North America, you assume is a national name. You must understand that it is not a national name. It is a political confederation phrase absent of the national name. And this is the United States of Morocco that you've been assuming was the United States of America. And that is the great Masonic secret. America is Al-Moroccan or Al-Moroccanos. And we the people, that is the stated, or that is stated in the preamble for the Constitution of the United States, or Constitution for the United States, is Society Republique El Moroccanos